Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little different today.
A little different, yeah.
Usually we look at a specific event or a specific technology, a breaking news story. But the stack of research you send over for this one, it's not about one thing.
No, it's
It
not.
feels like it's about, well, everything. It's massive.
It is massive. And honestly, it's a bit intimidating, even for me. We're pulling from some very, very different shells in the library today.
You're not kidding. I'm looking at the source list here.
Yeah.
We have private letters from J.R.R. Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
We have verses from the Tao Te Ching, which are, 2,500 years old?
At least, yeah.
We've got these really deep philosophical treatises on motorcycle maintenance, of all things.
How classy.
And then sitting right on top of it all is this very urgent, very modern analysis of artificial intelligence.
It's an eclectic mix, to say the least. But the reason we pulled these specific sources and why we're putting them in conversation with each other is that they're all describing the exact same phenomenon. They just use different vocabularies to do it.
And that phenomenon is what we're calling the machine.
Correct. The machine.
Now, before you, the listener, look down at your phone or your laptop and think we're about to do some, Luddite smash session, we need to define our terms.
Absolutely.
Because in this research, the machine doesn't just mean technology, does it? It's not about my toaster or the internet.
No, and that is the most critical distinction to make right at the start. If you think the machine is just gadgets, you miss the entire point.
Okay.
The machine, as defined by this convergence of sources, specifically the synthesis notes you have there, is a specific logic. It's a pattern. It's a method of interacting with reality.
So that definition from the source notes that really stuck with me, and I want to parse this out because it really sets the stage for everything else, is this.
Go for it.
The machine is any system that promises outcomes without requiring the inner growth necessary to deserve them.
That's the core of it, right there. Outcomes without the becoming.
The becoming. So it's the gap between, say, I want to fly, and I have become a creature capable of flight.
Exactly. The machine seeks to actualize a desire directly. You have an impulse. I want to move fast. I want to kill an enemy from a distance. I want to see a beautiful picture. And the machine provides a button that makes that happen instantly.
Right. It just gives it to you.
It bypasses the slow, painful, friction-heavy process of, skill acquisition, character formation, and wisdom.
Which, let's be fair, sounds fantastic on the surface. Who wants the friction? If I can get the result without the sweat, isn't that just efficiency?
Of course. We all want the shortcut. That's the hook. That's why the machine is so seductive, so tempting. But the argument running across all these sources, from ancient China to modern AI labs, is that when you bypass the growth, you don't just get the outcome for free.
There's a price.
You pay a price. You pay a price in agency. You pay a price in your own humanity.
So the mission for this deep dive is to map out that price. We're going to try to figure out the difference between a tool, which might actually help us, and the machine, which might be hollowing us out.
A crucial distinction.
And to do that, we have to start in a place that seems, on the surface, totally unrelated to modern tech. We have to go to Middle-earth.
We have to talk about orcs.
I love this starting point. I really do. I grew up with the movies, read the books as a kid, and to me, orcs were just the foot soldiers.
The bad guys.
Yeah, they were the cannon fodder. Scary, ugly, evil. But looking at the notes on Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, and his analysis of his father's work, I realized I completely misunderstood what an orc actually is.
Most people do. We think of them as biological monsters, just another species in a fantasy world.
Right, like elves or dwarves.
But Tolkien didn't frame them as part of nature. Christopher Tolkien is very specific about this in the interview transcripts we have. He says his father wasn't afraid of nature, and he wasn't even really afraid of man. He was afraid of the man-made.
The man-made. That's a very specific phrase.
It is. For Tolkien, the orcs aren't just a species. They are a philosophy made flesh. They represent the machine mindset taken to its absolute horrifying extreme.
In the lore, they aren't born in the normal sense,
Right.
right? They're bred.
They are manufactured. Tolkien literally calls them pseudo-living technology. Think about the characteristics of an orc. What are they?
Well, they have no culture, no art, they don't garden.
No. They hate anything that grows simply for the sake of growing. They hate trees. What do they love?
Efficiency, war machines, gears, smoke, smashing things.
They love wheels and engines and explosions. They are bred for a singular output. destruction and domination.
So they're purely instrumental beings.
They are the ultimate expression of a society that prizes getting things done over the simple act of being.
That's a chilling parallel, getting things done. I mean, that's the mantra of every productivity app on my phone.
Well, of course it is.
But surely Tolkien isn't saying that building things is inherently bad. I mean, he was a creator himself, a world builder.
No, absolutely not. He isn't saying creation is bad. He draws this incredibly sharp line between creation, which he also calls art or enchantment, and the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the Christopher Tolkien interview gets really deep. He argues that his father saw the machine as an alternative solution to human development.
Explain that. Alternative solution. What does that mean?
Okay, so let's take the desire for flight. Tolkien talks about this in his letters. Letter 131 specifically is in our source stack. Flight is this deep, archetypal human desire.
Sure. Icarus, all that.
Right. And in a spiritual sense, or a mythical sense, to achieve flight would require a transformation of your entire being. You would have to become lighter, maybe you'd have to become holier, you'd have to actually grow wings.
It's an internal change. You change as a person, so your capabilities change.
Precisely. It's what philosophers would call an ontological change. You become a different kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But the machine offers an alternative.
Shortcut.
The shortcut. It says, you don't need to change. You can stay heavy, greedy, and grounded. You don't need to be holy. Just build this device. The device actualizes the desire externally.
And look, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Please do.
I like airplanes. I really like that I can visit family across the country without having to, become a saint first.
Yeah.
Is Tolkien saying that's inherently wrong?
He's not saying the flight itself is sinful in a simple religious sense. He's saying that the method changes the nature of the power you wield.
The method changes the power.
Yes. When you possess a power that you didn't earn through internal growth, that power almost inevitably becomes coercive.
Coercive, that's the key word, isn't it? It keeps coming up.
It is. This brings us straight to Richard Gunderman's analysis in our stack, his essay, Tolkien and the Machine. He argues that for Tolkien, the machine is fundamentally about the lust for power over others. Domination. If I grow wings through some spiritual journey, I can simply fly. That's it. But if I build a bomber, I can fly, yes, but I can also rain fire down on people who can't fly. The capability is completely divorced from my morality, from my being.
And this is the Sauron versus the elves distinction,
Yeah.
isn't it? This was the aha moment for me in the reading. I always just thought elves are good magic and Sauron was bad magic.
It's a common misconception.
But the sources say it's not about magic at all. It's about the aim, the
Okay.
intention.
The aim is everything. The elves use what we might call magic, but what they call art or enchantment. And their goal is creation. It's sub-creation. They want to understand the world. They want to make the green greener, the stars brighter.
They want the world to be more fully itself.
Yes, they want to share the world, not own it.
And Sauron.
Sauron wants to control the world. He wants to force other wills, the wills of men, elves, dwarves, to align with his own. That is the definition of the machine in this context. A system designed to override the wills of others to achieve an efficient outcome. He wants order, but it's his order.
Which leads us directly to the ring. The One Ring.
The supreme machine.
I'd never, ever thought of the ring as a piece of technology before.
Yeah.
But Christopher Tolkien calls it exactly that. It's not just a piece of magic jewelry. It's a tool built for domination.
It's a device. It grants access to power that the user hasn't earned and cannot naturally wield. It makes you invisible, which bypasses the natural consequence of being seen and held accountable.
Right.
It allows you to dominate minds, bypassing the need for persuasion or true leadership. It's the ultimate shortcut to power.
And this answers the biggest plot hole people always complain about. I hear it all the time. Why didn't Gandalf just take the ring and use it against Sauron?
Right. It seems so efficient, doesn't it? Just use the enemy's own weapon to save the world.
Because the weapon is the enemy. The logic is the enemy.
Exactly. If Gandalf takes the ring, he is accepting the logic of the machine. He is accepting that outcomes, saving the world, justify the method, which is coercion.
And Christopher Tolkien notes that Gandalf with the ring would actually be worse than Sauron. Worse? How can he be worse? Gandalf is good. He's righteous.
That's why he'd be worse. Sauron is just plain evil. You can hate him and fight him. But Gandalf, he would use that power to force everyone to be good. He would coerce the world for its own benefit.
He'd make everyone a slave to his moral vision.
A total benevolent tyranny.
That is That's actually terrifying. The idea of righteous coercion. It's the idea of a perfectly managed prison where everyone is forced to be happy and healthy.
And that is the ultimate danger of the machine. It promises to fix everything, to make everything efficient and safe and orderly, but the cost is that it treats humans as objects to be managed.
Not subjects to be engaged with.
Precisely.
Okay, so we have this really solid Tolkien foundation. The machine is a shortcut to power that bypasses our own growth and always leads to domination.
That's the thesis.
But this isn't just a British fantasy author's obsession. I mean, the stack you sent includes the Tao Te Ching, which is thousands of years older and from a completely different culture.
And yet,
it seems to be warning against the exact same thing.
it is striking how consistent this intuition is across human history. The Tao is deeply, deeply skeptical of any tool that disconnects us from the natural rhythm of life.
There's a passage, I think it's chapter 80, that describes a wisely governed people.
Mm-hmm.
And to a modern ear, especially a Western ear, it sounds absolutely dystopian.
It can, yeah. It sounds like a trap.
It does. The text says something like, the people might have boats and carriages, but no one displays them. They might have armor and weapons, but no one parades them.
Right.
And then the kicker, though the neighboring country is so close that they can hear its roosters crowing and its dogs barking, they are content to die of old age without ever having traveled there.
Content to die without ever having traveled there. When you read that, what's your gut reaction? Be honest.
My gut reaction is, that's a failed life. That's a tragedy. You never saw Paris. You never saw the Great Wall. You just stayed in your little village. That's small. That's limited.
Right, of course. Because we are children of the machine. We value the capacity to go. We value the option. We want the airplane ticket in our pocket, even if we don't use it.
Sure.
But the Tao is asking a deeper question. Why do you feel the need to go?
Well, usually because I'm bored here.
Where?
Or I feel like here isn't enough. Or I have, FOMO, fear of missing out.
Exactly. The urge to travel, the urge to use the carriage is often driven by a feeling of insufficiency. The text says, these people enjoy the labor of their hands. That is the key phrase.
They enjoy the labor of their hands.
They have found sufficiency and meaning in their own actions, in their own place. They aren't rushing to invent a machine to do the work for them because the work itself is where they find their meaning. They aren't trying to save labor. They are trying to inhabit it.
This connects so perfectly to the Persig reading, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I haven't read this since college, but rereading the excerpts you sent, wow, it hits differently now.
It's a classic for a reason. Still holds up.
So there's this couple, John and Sylvia. They are the narrator's friends. And they're presented as these counterculture figures. They hate the system. They hate technology. They want to escape the machine of modern America.
They want to get away from it all. They want a simpler, more natural life.
But they're doing it on motorcycles.
Which is an incredibly complex piece of precision engineering. A combustion engine is an absolute marvel of technology.
And the deep irony that Persig points out is that John and Sylvia refuse to learn how the motorcycle actually works.
Not at all.
If it breaks down, they just freeze, they get angry, they treat it like some magic talisman that should just work without their understanding.
Persig calls this a fragile entanglement. I love that phrase. They think they are free because they are moving fast across the country, but because they refuse to engage with the mechanics, the tappets, the pistons, the oil, they are actually deeply enslaved by it.
Right. They're utterly dependent on a system they despise and don't understand.
One loose wire, and their entire freedom collapses. They have to call a mechanic, another person in the system, to save them.
It's NIMBYism for technology.
Yeah.
Not in my backyard. I want the speed, I want the freedom, but I don't want the grease under my fingernails. I don't want to know how it's done.
And Persig's whole lesson is that you cannot have it somewhere else. You are sitting on the machine. The only way to actually be free is to understand it, to master it, to engage with it, to treat it with care.
Not just be a consumer of it.
Yes. John and Sylvia are trying to use the machine, the bike, to escape the machine society, but because they don't have the inner growth, the mechanical skill, they are just miserable tourists in their own lives.
They haven't become mechanics. They've just remained consumers of motion.
And that leads to the latter metaphor from David Brooks and Stephen Covey, which is also in our stack. This is the ultimate description of what happens when you spend a life using the machine to get outcomes.
The latter.
The machine is excellent. I mean, unbelievably efficient at helping you climb a ladder. It gives you the productivity hacks, the credentials, the speed. You climb rung after rung faster than anyone in history. You get the promotion, you get the big house, you get the accolades.
You get to the top.
And when you get to the top, maybe you're 40 or 50 years old, you look around and you realize the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall.
That is a devastating image. Just gut-wrenching.
You arrived. But you didn't become anyone you respect on the way up. Alan Watts calls it the hoax. You thought the meaning was at the top. But the meaning was supposed to be in the climbing. If you automate the climbing, or if you use a shortcut to get to the top, you arrive empty.
A hollow shell standing on a peak.
And you don't have the lungs for the altitude, because you never had to breathe hard on the way up.
Okay, so this brings us to a really tricky term we use all the time. Labor saving. We use this as an unalloyed good. Oh, look at this new device. It's a labor-saving device. Who could possibly argue with that? But our stack argues with it, and argues aggressively.
It challenges the fundamental assumption, because we have to ask two questions. What happens to the labor, and what happens to the person who is no longer doing it?
Tolkien had a pretty cynical or maybe realistic view on this, didn't he?
He did. He said something to the effect of, machines don't abolish slavery, they just move it out of sight.
Whoa, say that again?
Machines don't abolish slavery, they move it out of sight. When you buy a cheap, mass-produced item, you aren't seeing the sweat. You aren't seeing the factory conditions in a country halfway around the world. You think the labor has been saved because you didn't do it.
It's just been displaced.
It's been displaced to someone with less power, or as you say, to the environment.
Right.
Peter Critchley, another source in our stack, calls this the tyrannous reformation of the earth. The machine requires the earth to be reshaped to fit its own logic of efficiency. But there's that second layer, which is what happens to us when we save our own labor.
And this is the difference between a tool and a machine.
Yeah.
There's a table in the notes that I really want to walk through because this was the most helpful, practical framework for me.
Let's do it.
Because I don't want to be a Luddite. I'm not going to go smash my laptop. But I need to know, is my laptop a tool or is it a machine? How do I tell?
Okay, let's look at the distinction. A tool extends human capability. A machine replaces it.
Give me an example.
A carpenter's chisel. Or a hobbit's garden hoe. These are tools. They require skill. You have to learn how to hold them. You have to develop a feel for the grain of the wood or the texture of the soil. When you use a chisel, you are becoming more intimate with the wood. You feel the knot. You have to adjust your pressure, your angle. The chisel is an extension of your hand, of your intention.
The tool relies on your judgment.
It demands your judgment, and in doing so, it develops your judgment. After 10 years of using a chisel, you are a master. You have changed. You have what Matthew Crawford in shop classes Soulcraft calls soulcraft. Your soul has been shaped by the work.
Okay, so that's a tool. Now, the machine.
A fully automated furniture factory. Or, to use a Tolkien example, the industrial mills of Saruman at Isengard. The machine is designed to minimize human skill. It minimizes judgment. The operator doesn't need to know anything about wood. In fact, the machine works best if the wood is uniform, standardized, abstracted into a raw material.
So the operator just pushes a button.
And after 10 years of pushing that button, the operator has not become a master carpenter. They have become a very good button pusher. They have likely become bored, alienated, and most importantly, easily replaceable.
So the machine increased the output more chairs, but it decreased the humanless skill.
And the joy.
None.
The joy of making, of creation, is replaced by what Gunderman calls a dull ache to consume more.
That explains so much of modern consumerism. We don't make things anymore, so we don't feel that deep satisfaction of, I did this, so we try to fill that hole by buying things that machines made.
It's a feedback loop. Gunderman tells this beautiful story about his grandfather, who was a carpenter. He could drive a nail with a single perfect blow. That is a visceral satisfaction.
I can almost hear it.
And this same man, he distrusted the machine, and for him, that meant the car, because it moved people too fast to know their own backyards. It's that Tao Te Ching idea again. Speed kills intimacy.
So hobbits, they are the living embodiment of the anti-machine.
They are. They love 6 meals a day. They love gardening. They love simple tools. They aren't magical or powerful. They're just grounded. They represent sufficiency.
They don't want to rule the world.
They just want to grow good potatoes and smoke good pipeweed. And that is precisely why they are the only ones who can resist the ring.
Because the ring offers power. And a hobbit looks at it and says, what would I do with power? I can't eat it.
I can't smoke it in my pipe. Exactly. The machine has no hook in them because they don't have the hole that the machine promises to fill. They already have the satisfaction of the labor of their hands.
This feels like the perfect moment to pivot because we are living through the explosion of the biggest, most powerful labor-saving device in human history right now.
Artificial intelligence.
The elephant in the room.
It really is.
We have a source here, a set of modern notes titled AI, the Machine, and the Ring. And it takes everything we've just spent the last half hour discussing and points it directly at ChatGPT, at Midjourney, at all of it.
And the core argument of these notes is fascinating. It's so clarifying. It says, AI isn't the problem. The machine is.
Meaning, what's the distinction there?
Meaning AI is a technology. It's a powerful one, but it's neutral in itself, just like an engine is. But it becomes the machine when it fits that definition we started this whole deep dive with.
Okay, let me reiterate that definition again in this new context. The machine is any system that promises outcomes without requiring the inner growth necessary to deserve them.
Right. So, if AI gives you the essay without the struggle of thinking, it is the machine. If it gives you the beautiful image without the development of artistic vision, it is the machine.
The notes break AI down into 3 categories of use. I want to go through these because this feels like a survival guide for the next decade.
I agree.
The first category is AI as machine.
This is the default mode for many people right now. It's push-button intelligence. You outsource your judgment. You prioritize speed over understanding. You prioritize metrics over meaning. I need 10 blog posts by noon. Click. Done.
Just this once, you tell yourself. For good ends.
That's the Ring's whisper. I just need to get this boring task done so I can do the real work later. But the prompt warns us. It produces results fast, but it empties humans quietly. If you use AI to do your thinking for you day after day, you are not learning how to think. You are atrophying.
It's the Wall-E scenario, but for your brain. We just become blobs in floating chairs.
Exactly. We become cognitively obese. We float around while the algorithms do all the heavy lifting of cognition. We become helpless.
But then there's the second category, which is more hopeful. AI as tool.
Right.
How is this different?
Remember the chisel. A tool extends your skill. It doesn't replace it. Good AI tools keep the human in the loop. And critically, they preserve friction where it matters.
That's so counterintuitive. Friction is usually seen as the enemy. We want frictionless user experiences.
The machine wants frictionless. But learning requires friction. Growth requires resistance. If you lift a weight that has no gravity, you build no muscle. So an AI as a tool might be a coding assistant that suggests a line of code, but you, the programmer, have to judge if it's the right code. You have to understand it to use it.
So it's a co-pilot, not an autopilot.
Perfect analogy. It might make you faster, it might make you more capable, but it requires you to be capable in the first place. And the notes say good AI tools make bad thinking harder, not easier. They force you to clarify your intent. If you just type in a lazy, vague prompt, the AI gives you garbage back. You have to be the craftsman.
And then the third category, this is the one that really gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
AI as teacher of attention.
This is the rarest form. This is the higher use.
What does that even look like?
It's AI that slows you down at the right moments. It's AI that challenges your assumptions. Imagine an AI that, instead of writing the essay for you, asks you, why do you think that argument is strong? Have you considered this counterpoint from this historical text?
It's a sparring partner. It's like having Socrates in a box.
It acts like a mentor. It makes your own thinking visible to you. It helps you see patterns you missed. The goal isn't execution, just getting the job done. The goal is enchantment, in that Tolkien sense, a heightened perception of reality. You walk away from that interaction smarter than you went in, not just done with the task.
So the litmus test, and I really want everyone listening to mentally apply this to how they use AI right now, is this question from the notes. If this AI vanished tomorrow, would you be helpless, capable, or wiser?
That is the ultimate test. It's so simple and so profound.
So if you would be helpless.
You are using a machine. You are dependent. You are outsourcing your brain.
If you would be capable.
You are using a tool. You still have the underlying skill. You just lost some leverage. You'd be slower, but you could still do the work.
And if you would be wiser.
You found a teacher. You found something really special. You internalized something from the interaction that is now part of you.
That is so good. Helpless, capable, or wiser. It completely reframes the panic about AI. It puts the agency right back on us. The question isn't, will AI replace us? It's, will we let AI atrophy us?
And that connects directly to the most important question of all, the question of formation. The most important question isn't, is the AI's output true? Or is it powerful? The question is, who is being formed by this system?
Who are we becoming when we use it?
Are we becoming orcs obsessed with efficiency, unable to make things, utterly dependent on the system? Or are we becoming something else, something more human?
This brings us to the ethical core of all this. We talked about coercion versus enchantment earlier. Section 5 of our outline is all about this distinction, the ethics of enchantment.
We're drawing here mainly from Peter Critchley's work, and he defines enchantment so beautifully. He says it's not about magic tricks or spells, it's about showing rather than spelling out.
Showing rather than spelling out.
Think about a great story, a fairy tale. It doesn't give you a list of rules. Rule 1, do not steal. Rule 2, do not kill.
No, that would be a terrible story.
It shows you a world where courage matters, where greed leads to ruin. It invites you to feel it. It strengthens your moral imagination.
It respects your agency. It lets you come to the conclusion yourself.
Exactly. Whereas the machine and coercion imposes the conclusion. The machine spells it out. It forces the outcome.
Critchley uses this other phrase that I love, interweaving versus intervening.
This is a vital distinction for anyone trying to build a community or lead a team or even raise a family. The machine relies on intervention. It sees a problem, and it imposes a solution from the outside. It fixes it. It forces it.
Like a surgeon or a mechanic. It's external.
Right. But true power, the healthy, sustainable alternative to the machine, is interweaving. It connects the threads that are already there. It builds community. It relies on the skills and relationships of the people involved. It's more like gardening than engineering.
Gardening versus engineering. That's the elves versus the orcs all over again.
The elves want to create art that allows you to see the world more clearly. They want you to see that the green of the leaves is greener than you thought. The machine just wants to control the world, to make it predictable.
And we have to circle back to Gandalf here, just for a moment, because this is the trap for the good guys.
It is.
We all want to be the good guys. We want to save the world. We want to fix climate change. We want to end poverty. Noble goals.
And the temptation is always to use the ring to do it.
If I just had enough power, if I could just get everyone to listen to me, I could force them to do the right thing.
That is the danger of good ends. Tolkien's greatest fear wasn't Sauron. It was righteous coercion. If you save the world by stripping people of their agency and their capacity for growth, you haven't saved it. You've just turned it into a well-managed prison.
A well-managed prison. That chills me because you see that impulse everywhere. In politics, in technology, in corporate management. I know what's best. So I will design a system that makes it impossible for you to do the wrong thing.
And that creates dependency. It creates helplessness. And ultimately, it breeds deep resentment because deep down, humans know they are meant to be free agents, not efficient, predictable components of a system.
So we can't just mandate goodness. We have to cultivate it, which is so much slower.
Much slower and messier. It's the difference between growing an oak tree and building a telephone pole. The telephone pole is faster, it's straighter, it's more efficient. You can put it up in an afternoon.
But it's dead.
It's dead. The oak tree takes 300 years, but it's alive. It supports an entire ecosystem. The machine loves telephone poles. We need to learn to love oak trees again.
This has been heavy. In a good way, but also incredibly clarifying. I feel like I have a new set of glasses to look at the world with.
That's the whole goal, to see the pattern.
So let's wrap this up with the synthesis. We've covered a lot of ground. If you're driving home right now, looking at your phone, thinking about your job, what are the practical takeaways? We have these system tests from the note.
Right, a kind of user's manual. If you want to know if you are dealing with a machine or a tool in your own life, you can ask these 4 questions.
Okay, test number 1, the coercion test.
Does it control other wills? Does the system work by forcing others to comply or by dominating them, either obviously or subtly? If yes, it's the machine.
Test number 2, the craft test.
Does it reduce my intimacy with the thing I rely on? Am I losing touch with the materials, the process? Am I becoming a button pusher or am I becoming a craftsman?
Test number 3, the displacement test.
Does it hide labor or harm somewhere else? Is this labor-saving device actually just slavery hiding? Am I outsourcing the pain and the sweat to a place I can't see?
And finally, test number 4, the ladder test.
That's the big one. If I succeed using this system, will I respect who I become? If I win this game, do I like the person who won? Or will I discover it was all a hoax?
So the final synthesis then, it's not about being a Luddite. It's not about smashing things.
No, not at all. Tolkien had a telephone. He used a tape recorder. He used the technology of his day. The point isn't to reject technology. The point is to discern.
We have to know the difference.
We have to consciously choose tools that help us become more human and actively reject machines that offer us power at the price of our souls.
The final thought from the source material is one that I think I'm going to have to tattoo on my brain. The ring must be destroyed, not worn more carefully.
You cannot use the machine to defeat the machine. You can't out-efficiency the logic of efficiency. You have to step out of that logic entirely.
You have to choose something else.
You have to choose enchantment. You have to choose craft. You have to choose the slow, messy, beautiful work of becoming a person who actually deserves the outcomes they get.
So the challenge for all of us, for you listening, is to look at the systems in your life. Your phone, your job, your AI assistants. Which ones are tools helping you grow? And which ones are machines? Promising you power while slowly, quietly emptying you out.
That's the question.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.